National Highways Academy's Highways Delivery event is very pleased to welcome respected highways industry practitioners David Quarmby and Phil Carey. David and Phil were commissioned 2 years ago by the Rhys Jeffreys Roads Fund to undertake a piece of research into the development of a vision for Britain's future road network. That research outputs in October 2016 with a major report looking at how we can bring balance back to the funding of the maintenance of the strategic road network and the local road network. The following interview was undertaken in advance of the Highways Delivery event in order for David and Phil to outline their proposals. We live in interesting times for our highways network and for developments of maintenance strategies across that network. And for the last 2 years or so, you've been working on some of the challenges relating to the changing structure of maintenance and investment on our highways and trying to develop a vision for England's major road networks. Now, the NHA Highways Delivery Conference, the theme for that conference is about integration of national and local roads. How does your study of England's major roads bear on this?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that it's the economic growth of the country that sits behind our study, and what we're looking at is what's necessary to help support and stimulate growth. This agenda is one that's been around for the government for quite a long time now, but what we're saying is that the strategic road network alone is not enough to provide the network of major roads necessary to support our economy at national and regional level. And so we've moved on to say, well, do we have to add in some local authority roads to create this major road network to support the needs of business?
So within that premise, what is it you're actually fundamentally proposing to address this issue of making sure that we actually have a coherent road network?
I think it's recognising that to deliver objectives from the road network for economic growth, you need to focus on a broader network than just the strategic road network. So the proposal is around a further 3,600 miles of more important local authority A roads, which put alongside the strategic road network gives you a much more balanced and integrated network serving the sort of regional economies across the country. So that is the 8,000 mile major road network, which is the heart of our proposition.
So why is this so important to both our economy and how we structure moving forward with our highway network?
Business depends on roads. In areas like London, rail plays a major part, but even within London, but certainly outside London, roads account for nearly 90% of personal travel and about more than 80% of freight movement. So getting the road network right for business is absolutely crucial to help them to succeed. And what we're saying is that we need a broader network than just the strategic road network to provide the mobility and the accessibility that business needs.
And does that fit in with the government's economic strategy and its regional development strategy as we look towards issues such as devolution and take particular areas such as Greater Manchester?
Yes, I mean, I think the starting point really is the current roads reform programme, which is the crux of government's focus on investing in road infrastructure to support the economy. And that's a fantastic step forward, but it simply doesn't go far enough. The strategic road network is just a very small portion of the total road network in England, only 2% by length. It is about 1/3 of total traffic on the network, and a greater proportion still of commercial traffic. But if investment in transport infrastructure is to support economic growth, you have to take a rather broader approach than just that strategic road network.
And are there particular geographical areas where you believe this will have a greater impact?
If this major road network is going to mean anything, it's got to be planned and funded on a consistent basis, which means you've got to bring your decision making about the local authority parts of the major road network alongside how you plan and fund the strategic road network. Now that's quite challenging because it's a very different planning and funding regime for Highways England than there is for local authorities who've been suffering cuts in revenue support and a patchwork of capital programs that they have to access. Now, trying to bring all this together is made easier by the devolution agenda. Devolution wasn't around when we started our study, but it is something that's come within the last 2 years, and it's really very helpful in promoting our concept.
I was going to say, as far as impact on different parts of the country is concerned, an important consideration is the rather uneven nature of the strategic road network that we currently have. Partly for historic reasons, it is particularly strong, a dense network supporting a wide range of journeys, particularly in South Lancashire, Greater Manchester, where there's a very well-developed motorway network. Across the Pennines, there's much less strategic road network, just the bare bones of the motorway network in that area. Also in the South Midlands area, where the strategic road network just has the sort of the main corridors heading up from London to the north and to the Midlands, there's a remarkable lack of cross-country movement. So there's a number of areas in the country where there'd be particular value in taking this more integrated approach and focusing on a broader network of the roads that really matter.
Very much in line with the old adage of all roads lead to Rome, or in this case, London. So if we're looking closely at things like the Trans-Pennine Corridor and the Oxford-Cambridge corridors, would it not just be simpler to actually merge these higher-ranking local roads in with the strategic road network? Would that not be a much more coherent solution?
Well, we are maintaining that the responsibilities, as they are at the moment, shouldn't change. And one of the reasons for that is because I think it's very important that for the local authority roads on the major road network, they're also embedded in the communities that they're part of. And we think it's right that the local authorities should continue to be primarily responsible for those other roads. Many of them are in urban areas and are on the fringes of urban areas, and there's a great value in retaining local decision making for those. But what we're saying is that they should be part of a regime that gives them the ability to be planned and funded alongside the strategic road network to give a coherent major road network wider than the SRN that supports business.
And I think a key aim of our proposition is to address the gap between national and local roads, which actually is becoming ever greater with the special focus under road investment strategy on the strategic roads. If we were simply to increase the size of the Highways England network, you simply transfer that gap a little bit further down the spectrum of roads by selecting this sort of middle category of local authority major roads. You straddle that divide much more successfully. You keep up better links between those major local roads and the rest of the local road network, and at the same time you're integrating much better those local authority major roads and the Highways England network.
You brought in the concept of devolution, which, as you say, is something that's gained a lot of traction in the last 12 to 15 months. How do you feel that this will alter the approach to how we manage our roads, the impact of funding, and how it will bridge the gap between the funding of the strategic road network, which some would say is extravagantly funded at £15 billion for the next 4 years, and the deprived local area network? Is the concept of subnational transport boards a game changer?
There are two things that need to be addressed. One is to have a coherent system of planning, and the second is to provide adequate funding for the whole of the major road network. Now, the devolution arrangements, particularly the subnational transport bodies, provide an excellent base for creating a coherent planning regime for the major road network. For example, take the prospective subnational transport body, STB, for North of England, under Transport for the North. Now, there are many local authority major roads that cover the north of England and fill in the gaps between the SRN. The STB, the subnational transport body, provides an opportunity to bring all the local authorities together to, as it were, upload the responsibility for the major roads to the STB. And the STB, which is a creature of those local authorities, can then work with Highways England to develop plans that is not just about what happens to the motorways and the trunk roads, but takes account of the important local authority roads, whether it's between the conurbations, whether it's north of the main conurbations in Yorkshire, or whether it's going further south.
So just what is the vision for these subnational transportation bodies? We've got Transport for the North launching in March 2017. Is this a pattern that's emerging across the rest of England?
There are two other prospective STBs. One is Midlands Connect, which is a grouping of the local authorities and the cities and the combined authorities, really from Herefordshire all the way through the West Midlands and the East Midlands to the East Coast. It's a very large area. But interestingly, that also illustrates the point. There are very few motorways and trunk roads that run diagonally across this area. You've got the M1 and the M6 and a number of other major strategic road network roads, but you really rely on the local authority major roads to provide the east-west connection, and yet they are strategically important for the economic health of that Midlands area.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, that certainly applies to the South Midlands area, which is the focus for the third STB gathering shape, England's Economic Heartland Strategic Alliance, I think is the best term for it at present, which is the whole swathe of country from Oxfordshire up through Bedfordshire towards the Cambridge area. And again, the major road network should much more logically be the natural network for addressing strategic needs of that crucial part of England.
So what is likely to happen outside of these STB areas? After all, we have identified quite significant change, especially in respect to east-west links. So what is the bigger picture?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the major road network should make a lot of sense away from the STBs. At present, it looks like much of East Anglia, the whole swathe of the country along the south coast, will not be part of STBs. But in those areas too, the local authorities working together should be able to achieve much more with Highways England if there's a sort of recognised subset of the overall network which is going to get this special attention, the major road network.
So have the LEPs a part to play in this?
Yes, there's already a substantial grouping of local authorities that take place under the aegis of the LEP movement, the local enterprise partnerships. And we've met with a couple of these during the course of our study and looked at how they lead the conversation, if you like, with both the planning authorities and with the highway authorities in a sub-regional basis to help create a dialogue with Highways England. And they acknowledge that the major road network concept is very helpful for them because of what it means at a regional level and what it means in complementing what the strategic road network provides for their LEP areas.
So we can start to see an emerging planning and administration structure around all of this. But the reality of it is that delivery follows money. And I'm not seeing a development there of how the funding gap between the strategic road network and the local area network can be addressed. Do you see a different proposal? Do you see emerging ideas that can address this?
I think this is perhaps sort of one of the most interesting area, and again it's following on from developments over the past year or so, particularly the announcement in the summer budget last year of the creation of the National Road Fund from 2020, which will be channeling vehicle excise duty receipts in England to fund the strategic roads in England. Clearly that's lined up to serve the Highways England network, but we think there should be a strong case for considering whether it could also be used to fund in a rather more systematic way this broader major road network. And there's a lot of work to be done around the sums, the potential receipts from vehicle excise duty, but we think there is at least some potential to explore if, in part, it can be applied to fund the local authority major roads as well as the Highways England network.
Now, this is a very ambitious programme, and if we're going to succeed with it, it's going to take a supranational partnership. Have you talked to any external organisations or bodies, and what kind of reaction have they had to these emerging proposals that you have?
It would not make sense for us if we were developing these thoughts completely in isolation from the bodies that we're naming here. And we've had a consistent and continuous dialogue with the Department for Transport during the course of our study, and with Highways England too. And all I can say is that there's a good deal of interest from all the parties in what we're doing. We've also had quite a bit of engagement with the LEP movement and with a number of local authorities and the LGA as well. So these bodies are interested in what we have to say. They recognise the point that we're making about the need to have a broader basis for roads that underpin the economy. We'll have to see what their reaction is in the autumn when we publish.
So very exciting times in the world of highway maintenance and development, especially with all the changes in the external environment. But crucially, how do you think your proposals will change things?
The underlying point is that the major road network that we're proposing should be fit for purpose. Fit for the purpose that it's designed for. It starts off being fit for the users. What kind of user proposition does it give? Does it provide? It's got to be fit in terms of the communities that it passes through and to mitigate any impacts on the environment. It's got to be fit in terms of being safe. It's got to be fit for purpose as an asset too, well maintained, and it needs to be fit in terms of making best use of the capacity that is on offer. Now, none of these things are new. Obviously, highway authorities have always worried about and been ambitious to do things under all these headings. What we're trying to do is to bring together a framework that sets out what a fit-for-purpose major road network should be about, and it has all these dimensions to it. And we hope that that provides a bit more of a framework for doing the integrated planning of the major road network and for putting the case forward for the funding that we think should be available for it.
Yeah. I think this concept of fit for purpose is really the very heart of our proposition, setting out really for the first time the totality of what a road network needs to deliver, focusing not so much on the infrastructure but on the service it's providing primarily to users but also to the wider community. And I think going back to our starting point and economic growth agenda, a road network's only going to succeed in that if it does provide a certain standard of service. So I think there needs to be a focus on reasonable user expectations from this road network.
So this provides a substantial starting point for a renewed debate on how we fund all of our roads, not just the strategic road network and the local area network, but how we bridge that funding gap. So when is it we can expect your report to be published and actually start that debate in earnest?
The plan is to publish our report in the autumn of 2016. We already have conference presentations lined up during the autumn at which we hope to reach some audiences that have a particular interest in the topic. But we will be aiming to stimulate debate during the autumn among interested parties, with the government department, Highways England, local authorities, saying, what do you think this has to offer? Do you agree that it's a very valuable milestone, that we can take these issues forward, plan things on a more coherent basis, and hope to support the economy by making good use of the funds that are being made available by government for infrastructure?
We hope to get the debate underway now, and very much appreciate the opportunity to be talking to you at this conference. Sorry that neither of us is in a position to attend in person, but I know that this proposition seems very close to the overall theme of your conference, and we'd really welcome feedback from the thoughts of you and all those at the conference.
Certainly we'll be encouraging people to feedback at the conference and after that, and hopefully start to build a consensus about the proposals that you bring forward.